City Council meeting scheduled for February 10th at 6 p.m. Please take a moment of silent meditation. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call, please?
Councilman Beatty.
Here.
Councilman Butterbaugh.
Here.
Councilwoman Klinich.
Here.
Vice Mayor Ellis.
Here.
Councilman Ickes.
Here.
Councilman Kelly.
Here.
And Mayor Pacifico is absent.
I'd like to announce an executive session held after the last council meeting for real estate, personnel, and potential litigation matters. It's now time for public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment, please approach the podium. Speak directly into the microphone. State your name, address for the record. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Groups are asked to appoint a spokesman to limit your comments to 3 minutes each. If you have any other opportunity to speak under public comment, you may proceed now. Also, we would ask that when you approach the podium, do not leave the area of the podium and do not approach anyone up at this end of the room. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm not going to be walking out there today. City Council, council members, representatives, my name is Chuck Lamarck, as you know. Other than firefighters and police officers here tonight, most of us have not stood inches from huge flames, risk a building collapsing on us while protecting life and property, ran through fire and smoke to seek those trapped, stood by a stopped vehicle unknowing if a firearm was within, confronted an armed robber before backup arrived, or answered a domestic call where weapons were known to be, or saved others while being exposed to toxic fumes. We see the flames on television nightly. We see that danger come closer and closer. Those few of us, those who face, those few with us, who face these threats daily among us in our firemen and police officers, the most important and most dangerous jobs in our city, usually taken for granted. I'm bringing this up because right now you think about it when you see those fires. You really do. The most important and most dangerous jobs in our city. All right? You and I should always, we should always applaud them. I needed their assistance before, and I never forgot those occasions. They certainly function with fewer personnel and an ever-growing responsibility. City Council must give them everything they need, and despite any of despite any and all budgets. And I wish there was. I'd like to see more people out here. You do deserve a round of applause. Thank you. What I like to mention last time, and I didn't, and this time I certainly don't want to forget them. Now, when I get to the subject, Orchard Park, I find it hard to believe that none of you have the incentive to question Mayor Pacifico's choice to take a community's park. Logantown pays taxes like the rest of Altoona and deserves the same consideration for its parks. Logantown's last park, 114 years old yesterday. 114 years. And you want to destroy it with just a stroke of a pen. Consider the consequences. The Mayor Pacifico needs your input. This housing action should be a collaborated decision. Now it is time to speak up and make things right. Before be more responsible and question this very damaging random decision. So sad for the ones who need the park. Do you care about the children of Logantown, the elderly of Logantown? Does Logantown even matter to you? If if you tried to take a piece of Tuckahoe Park or Prospect Park, it would be noticed by everyone. Instead, you take a spot like Orchard Park, not so visible as other parks. Who would notice? Who would care? Logantown and many others on Altoona have noticed and have loudly voiced their objections. This assembly is supposed to work for the general good. You talk of making city improvements while you recklessly damage your city. The land grab was done within the time limits to secure funding before December 31st. The people of Logantown were discriminated by this decision. Logantown will settle with will settle with the loss will not settle with the loss of any part of this park. If you decide you want to take half of it. Every one of you at this table supports the unpopular removal of the Orchard Park. This is because you haven't not questioned or challenged it. You must realize by public opinion that this land grab is the wrong choice. City Council operates with the public's trust and is responsible to the public. This park removal is challenged by the very public you represent. You know right from wrong and can apply it accordingly. I value self-respect. I hope yours guides you. It would be sad if you continued to be silent. It all comes down to your responsibility to the public to make a fair decision. Many have voiced their opposition to this decision that destroys Orchard Park. This request is not unreasonable. If you ignore them, you shirk your responsibility to them and lose their trust. Respect them if you want to have their respect and support. This council and the land bank both voiced the need for more park areas. So why are you taking Logantown's park? Logantown people have a park. Respect them. Let them keep their park. I'll be finished in a second.
Your 5
Please
minutes
let me
is up.
finish. I'm on my last page. If you give me that choice, give me that opportunity. You publicize that housing. I worked on this a long time to get this.
That's fine. Go ahead.
You publicize that housing on the park property that will increase property values. Only the uncertain, unaware, and misinformed would believe that. When parks are removed, nearby property values actually decrease. No structure on any park ever increased the value. No structure on any park ever increased the value of the property surrounding it. My last paragraph. You insult the Logantown community with your lack of concern for their long-established park. It's not your neighborhood, not your park, not your family. I understand that. That means you don't have their best interest in mind. Not one of you seated around this table have expressed any ambition to question this sad and unfair choice I mention again, to destroy this park. Even as I call you out to do so, you cower down and avoid your true responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further public comment?
My notes are shorter. My name's Glenn Beislein. I live at 130 Beach Avenue, and it's right across catty corner from the park. First of all, I want to thank you for the time and also for your service. I know it's not easy. I'm a retired contractor working in this area for over 40 years. Before that, I was a community planner, worked for golf course architecture in Chicago, and did community planning around here under Richard Suter many years ago. I live by a certain creed, okay? I try to live a quiet life, mind my own business, and work with my hands. And I've done that all my life. 46 years of my 78 years, I've lived at 130 Beach. Why Beach? Because years ago, I looked around, and I was a builder, and I looked at this area, and there was land available. So I bought the land, okay? And I decided to raise my family there. The reasons? Close to schools, the hospital, and the park. And it was a very quiet and serene neighborhood, except when the kids were playing. 6 generations of my family have used that park. My grandfather and great-grandfather used that park. And it's sad to see it's taken so quickly. Okay? I've raised my family there, and my family's used that park many times. My kids learned to play baseball there. My grandkids love that park. They love the playground. Every time they come, at least 2 or 3 times a month, they want to play on that playground. Okay? Jefferson's once said, we're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Excuse me. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And among those are those 3, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. There's also others. There's family, there's the joy of living, and being in that area. I think the toughest thing I had to do was a couple weeks ago, tell my grandkids that park wasn't going to be there anymore. My twin granddaughters, they're 5. Okay, and my grandson, he's 8. And I was going to explain it to him, and my son stepped in. He goes, "No, Dad." He goes, "Oh, I don't think I could have explained it to him." And why Orchard Park? Okay? Why Orchard Park? We've had Cricket Knoll for over 30 years. Nothing's been done about it. And there are other areas. 7th Avenue. It's got a lot of property along there. I saw Kettle in 22nd. Somebody cleared that the other day. Okay? And I just, what's next? Tuckahoe Park? Nobody'd ever hear of that. I guarantee you they wouldn't hear about it. Okay? There'd be an uproar you couldn't understand. My neighbors, 3 of them, I make 4 that I've talked to, have moved there in the last 3 years because of that park. It's just a quiet, serene neighborhood. And they say it's not being used. That's not true. Okay? And it was used a lot more before the playground equipment was there. I can remember many a baseball game, football game with the kids. Okay? It was a lot of fun. It still is a lot of fun. But I had to tell my granddaughters, after next year, maybe you won't be able to play. That's sad. I look at this, and I'll get back to my military background. I look at this as a soft target. You people picked a soft target, okay? What's a soft target in the military? I remember sitting in command and staff meetings. We talked about soft and hard targets. Well, this is a soft target. You guys took it on. You're going to destroy something that's just precious. It's part of happiness. It's part of joy. It's part of family. Now, there are other areas in this town that you can develop, but I can't see developing this park. One last thing. During this whole period, okay, with Parks and Recreation, okay, and then the council and turning this over into a land grab, okay, I was never contacted once. None of my 19 neighbors that live around that park never got a letter, never got notification. I never saw it posted, not once, okay? And there's been 2 other things in that neighborhood that have been developed over the last 3 years. Both of them were posted. This one wasn't. Why not? The only time I really found out about this, and I don't read the paper, I don't get the paper, that's my fault, okay? But I lived there, okay? And I should be notified, but I wasn't, okay? I remember Lincoln at Gettysburg, and I'm a reenactor. Many years ago, in November of 1863, he said, we're people of the government, by the government, and for the people. We're of the government. You guys are by us. We elect you. We put you in charge. And sometimes you forget who you're working for. And that's for the people. Not only yourselves, but me and all our neighbors. Okay?
Thank you, Mr.
I
Beisling.
thank you for your time. Thank you.
Any other further comment?
Good evening. I'm Timothy Smith from 524 Rose Hill Drive. And I echo the remarks that were made about how parks and public open spaces deliver tremendous benefits to the public, provide a crucial foundation for building, maintaining, and renewing communities. Orchard Park is one of those places. Clearly a public park and has been for some time. For more than 200 years, Pennsylvanians have relied on parks and other community open spaces held and stewarded by governments for the benefit of the public. Every day in the Commonwealth, people make decisions on where to live and work based on proximity to these public lands, which they see as reliable places for fun, comfort, and rest. People expect that these places will always be there for them. This expectation is not unfounded. Rather, it is grounded in centuries of common law. Specifically under the public trust doctrine, land dedicated to a public purpose belongs to the people and must be faithfully held and stewarded for that purpose by the title-holding government body. Government is not free to manage and dispose of this land as if it were an ordinary private landowner. In Pennsylvania, we have some very interesting pieces of law. In fact, as our other gentleman was mentioning, the laws that are ensconced in the federal rights that we all have. Here in Pennsylvania, we also have some laws that are ensconced in our state Commonwealth Constitution. Article 1, Section 27 of our state rights gives us environmental rights that few states have. Section 1, Section 27 provides him, his grandchildren, and any of those children and grandchildren to come, the people that have the right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. A public natural resource, like a park, is the common property of all the people, including generations yet to come. Not for us, not for you, not for him, not for his grandchildren, for generations yet to come. And as a trustee of these resources, this is still in the state constitution, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of the people. We have another law called the Donated and Dedicated Property Act. Now, what's very important about this is while you as a city and a governmental entity may freely choose to sell off a municipal building, a sewer plant, a maintenance yard, to fund other activities or for some other purpose, that is public property that you can dispose of, you do not have the same discretion with parks. The Donated and Dedicated Property Act is very specific, and it gives that power to the court system. It's no longer practical to use a park, then a court must make that decision, or it should be passed to a vote. It doesn't have to necessarily go to a vote. It can go to a court to make that decision. This has not happened in this case, and we brought this up some time now. Been plenty of time for this body or whatever entity has been working this to take a pause. The Open Space Act is very clear. There has been some debate in the press and from the solicitor hired by this body as to whether this was an officially dedicated park or not. The state Supreme Court has already decided that as recently as August of 2022. So why debate what the Supreme Court has already decided in this state? It says, as it comes down to this, the trial court has the ultimate responsibility to make this judgment. Now, maybe that judgment will be that yes, the city has determined this is a surplus piece of property. We don't need this. And that's all we've been asking. Let the law be the law. Isn't that what we're talking about in this country this day? Let's follow the law. This is a land of law. Then why are we not following it? Well, one thing I know that I did, and I'm surprised they're not here. I'm sort of disappointed, but they will be here soon. I've actually reached out since the city and the public doesn't want it, since you have it in the public trust, I've reached out to the Conestoga Susquehannock tribe, the original owners of this property. So I'm sure they will be getting a hold of you soon because they definitely have a claim on the land. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment at this time. We'll move on to resolutions. City Clerk.
Item 8 is approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Monday, January 13th, 2025. Item B is authorizing an easement agreement between the city and Penelec for the purpose of the installation of new electric service at Garfield Park, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item C is authorizing an aerial easement agreement between the city and Greystone Grand Palazzo for the purpose of the installation of a pedestrian bridge over 8th Avenue as shown on the easement plan, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item D is awarding the fire station access project to Empire of 1215 16th Street in the amount of $82,972 payable from the 2024 PA Municipal Fire Department Capital Grant, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item E is awarding a demolition contract to G&R Excavating of Tyrone for the following properties: 1508 First Avenue, 101 East Willow Avenue, 1304 22nd Avenue, and 515 3rd Street in the total amount of $37,100 payable from CDBG program funds, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. And item F is awarding a demolition contract to G&R Excavating of Tyrone for the following properties: 902 3rd Avenue, 2019 3rd Avenue, in the total amount of $28,295 payable from CDBG program funds, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Are there any deletions or any changes or anything that needs to be pulled for separate vote?
I just have a question on Chief Free on item with the fire station access project. That's all payable from that grant? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote then. This is for the consent vote. Councilman Beatty?
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ellis?
Yes.
Councilman Ickes?
Yes.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacifico is absent. The vote passes 6-0. We have an ordinance on the agenda for adoption, which was introduced by Councilman Ickes, and it is an ordinance of the City of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania, which authorizes the vacation and abandonment of a portion of a 15-foot alley situate between 18th and 19th Avenues and leading from 8th to 10th Street pursuant to Chapter 295-8 of the City Code, and further authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute a quitclaim deed to Brittany N. Padelco and any accompanying documentation to relinquish any right, title, or interest the city has or may have in said unopened alley, provide severability of provisions, repealer, and provide an effective date. Is there a motion for adoption?
I'll make.
Is there a second?
Second.
This ordinance was moved for adoption by Councilman Beatty, and seconded by
Me.
Councilman Ickes. I'll call the roll for a vote. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ellis,
Yes.
Councilman Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
and Mayor Pacifico is absent, and the vote passes 6-0.
Okay, city manager updates.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Just a couple things. Tomorrow, we are in the process, we have an additional technical advisory committee meeting for the zoning and SADO updates. That is virtual this time, correct?
Matt Ingles was going to drive down and be here in person, so the other two will be virtual, but he wanted to come in person.
Okay. Just give a shout out to Public Works for their work clearing the streets here the last couple of weeks. We've had a fairly unsettled pattern as of late, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon, so please just have some patience. The mayor and I had met with the YMCA. It's hard to believe, but we're almost back to summer again in the pool, so we started a conversation with the Y as far as their involvement this year with it, so more to come on that. And several members of Public Works and one in Codes, and the mayor and I went up to Pittston last week to review some of the software systems that they had in place. It was a great visit. Learned a lot of good people up there, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Council discussion, Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Nate, I know you're a little under the weather, but if you don't mind me following up with the comments about the weather, we've been really lucky last several years with some milder winters. We've had a lot of events. It looks like that's going to continue. Where are we with stockpiles of salt and anti-skid, and also the ability to get that if we need more?
I think we've been pretty good to date. Kevin's back there in the back of the room, but yeah, I think for the most part we've been underutilized the last couple of years. So,
Right.
but we haven't reduced the quantities because we know that it's bound to come, and you put the same amount down for an inch as you do 8 inches. So, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. And appreciate all the hard work on the part of the Public Works Department. Thank you.
Councilmember Ickes,
I have nothing this evening.
Councilmember Butterbaugh,
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Beatty.
Just found out today that we acquired another home in Altoona to rehabilitate. So the redevelopment authority will be getting after that at the next meeting. So housing's on the move in Altoona.
Thank you. Councilmember Klinich.
Nothing.
Thank you. I have a request from the mayor to announce the formation of a blighted property review committee. This committee will consist of one council member, one RA member, one planning commission member, and 2 members from the public. The mayor will make the nominations of the 2 public positions with council's approval. Those members of the public interested may fill out a talent bank application, and our city clerks informed me that that information is already posted online. Other than that, I will say I had a couple calls on public work stuff, and they were very complimentary over the weekend, so that's all I have. Media, Bill, I guess you're the only one in the room.
Thank you. We got, I didn't get it directly, but indirectly to the Mirror, a letter from a reader complaining about the state of paving, I guess on the streets and especially on some alleys after natural gas line installations.
And I was wondering if anybody, maybe Nate, could talk about that, like what the city may have or not have to do with any of that?
So, Bill, this has been an ongoing thing for years. So the gas company really, they've went to they're a private organization now, so I believe that they're publicly traded. So a lot of the items of restoration and the projects that they have to do, they fluctuate, I guess is probably the best way I can tell you. And so we've tried to communicate with them as well as we could about our upcoming projects. They have a whole rating system that they have to abide by, and you could probably reach out to the gas company for any particulars, but basically, like, once they get so many complaints or concerns or gas leaks on a line, like that raises its priority. So they just have to come in and do it. A lot of times, the last couple of years, Altoona has a pretty big stockpile of steel lines under the ground, so they're required by the PUC to kind of convert those over to plastic over a certain number of years. So we actually have an inspector who works hand in hand with them inside Public Works, and so what we've been trying to do was, and then on top of that, we also have the water, an unfunded mandate by DEP for the Water Authority that they have to get rid of their lead lines after so long, or they have, you probably know that from going to a Water Authority meeting. So they have to get those out of the ground. So what we've been doing is really trying to hold off the water, or the gas company's been paying the city to sort of put money in escrow. So when they get done with the project, we can have the Water Authority come through and do their work kind of hand in hand, so that when we finally do repave it, it ends up like not being torn up again. So that's what we've been striving to do. It's been a learning curve. I can assure you that we try our best to make sure, and it's not just frustrating to us once we pave a road that.
Bill, I'll
Yeah.
remind you not to cut Nate off, but I think that replacement being done on North Logan Boulevard got moved up, that the Water Authority is doing this fall/spring. That's going from, clear in town to Altoona, clear through Hollidaysburg. I believe that got moved up the list because there were gas lines that were also going to be replaced there too. So rather than having to do cuts, separate cuts, that's why the authority, I'm pretty sure that's the case, that they moved up that project. So to Nate's point, there is an attempt in coordination here on infrastructure improvements to be done all together, so that once paving's done, they're not back in 6 months ripping up the same spots.
Well, I think the point of the letter, which is sitting over there on the desk, was to ask for better temporary repairs before there's an overall
Are you talking?
repaving.
Were they talking in particular, like before winter hits?
Well,
perhaps?
they were talking about gas lines. I think, irrespective of when, I think what they're talking about are repairs that are done in such a way that pretty soon there's a dip and people,
Yeah.
hit their car, their jars their car, that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And I think they're talking about making temporary repairs in a fashion that they last longer until there's an overall
Yeah,
repaving.
so the gas company contractors are responsible to do that. We have some, we have some teeth with them. They do that. I think last year the gas company, once we, had some conversations with them, they brought another contractor in to help out with that.
Mhm.
And again, this is kind of a learning curve with them and us trying to sort of get some of this money in escrow to make sure we're doing the right thing with them and the Water Authority, for the permanent repairs.
Okay. One thing that you were saying that I wasn't sure I understood properly, were you saying at one point early on in what your explanation or your answer to me, that sometimes the gas company gets so many calls for repairing leaks that they really can't keep up with the repairs of the previous leaks that they fixed?
No, what I'm saying, like, if they have jobs that are on the books to get done, there's like, say, job X and job Y and job Z are all on the books, and they're working on those. Those are their contracted jobs, from what my understanding is. But they also have maintenance crews run around, and a lot of times, you know, if they smell gas, they have to come in and they'll start to investigate, and then they plop a hole there, and if they smell gas, they'll make a repair. But then sometimes that just migrates down the line of their line, and once they get so many, then they have to put that, they can't wait. They have to throw that on their books and get it done. And that's kind of, you know, some of these jobs are that way, that a couple of the alleys we had just had paved, and then they came through like a year later and replaced it. And I think a lot of it has to do with their priorities. Again, I'd ask the gas company. I
Okay.
mean, it's their work.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next question is, what is the meaning of the easement agreement for the Grand Palazzo Bridge? I guess, Mike. Like, what's the significance of that? I guess?
Bill, that's a pedestrian bridge that connects the two buildings of the Grand Palazzo. So the main building on 7th Avenue and the new building they're constructing on 8th Avenue. There's a pedestrian bridge going across. We're just giving them the right to be above our road aerially and assigning the maintenance to them.
I mean, that's strictly a private bridge, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the next question is, I'm not sure, maybe Adam, what's the meaning of the fire station access project?
It's just switching all our doors over to electronic access.
You mean, that's it? Okay, I was thinking it was communications or something. Dave, when you were talking about the vacant property review committee that's going to be repopulated, you said that Matt will be appointing public individuals for the 2 slots for that.
Yes.
Will he also be doing the, he'll be making the other appointments also, right? For council people and, or a council person and a planning commission person?
I believe he's already been in communications with the RA chair and the chair of the planning commission for that.
Oh, so it'd just be the chair people of those?
I don't know if that's what it's going to be, but he's already been in communications with them about that.
But it would be done on the same basis as all the other authorities, boards, and commissions, right? Where
That is my understanding.
they'd go to a vote of you guys.
Yeah,
right?
I'm the messenger here, but that is my understanding.
Okay. All right. And then finally, any comments on any of the 3 presentations on the park, on Orchard Park, the complaints, I guess, about Orchard Park? From anybody? Okay. Thank you.